I just finished the book, The Fire Sermon, by Francesca Haig. First little review on it. It was okay. Like, the book, easy to read, your typical young adult kind of revolution, dodgy government, all of that business. There was nothing that stood out to me in the book, nothing that deterred me from it either. It was just a easy read. It's about 400 pages. There are 2 other books in the series, I believe. So I'm basically going to recap it so that when I eventually, maybe one day, read them, I will know what happens. So the book follows the main character, Cass. It's set in a world where there was basically an apocalypse, so there was like a solar flare that scorched the world that they refer to as the Scorch. Since then, the world's been pretty barren, and a lot of animals are mutated, so like cows will have 2 heads, whatever. But the thing is, humans are now born with a twin. So everyone's born with a twin. There's one, the alpha twin, who we would see as a completely able-bodied person, and then there's the omega twin that has some type of disability or mutation in the book. So they might be missing an arm, or they might have webbed fingers. These people are branded at a young age and sent away from their family. So they will often go be sent with one of the Omega family members, maybe like their dad's twin, and be raised by them. They're kind of like forced to live in lesser conditions. Normally they're like farmers and they live in wastelands. They do terrible jobs and they're treated as outcasts. Catch is though, if you die, your twin dies. They can also feel like severe pain. So if they get whipped or break an arm, your twin will feel that. They'll know you're hurt. So yeah, it follows the story of Cass. Her mutation is rare though. She's a seer. So mainly this is her seeing things from the Scorch. So she gets flashbacks of the event, the sun exploding, whatever. And her brother Zach seems to be normal. Because her mutation isn't physical, she can hide it pretty well. She hides it up until the age of 13 when her and Zach are walking through a park or something and like a tree is about to fall on him and she sees it before it happens and stops it from happening. Pretty much from there, they realize that she's the mutated child and send her away. At this time, her father dies, which is when she meets her father's twin, Alice. She came over because she was very sick and they wanted to try and save her to save him. So Alice is kind of like, yeah, I know you're the mutant. I'm going to leave you my house and all of that. So Cass goes and lives in this Omega village and they kind of treat her as an outcast. One, seers aren't very regular, so she is a bit frowned upon, I guess. They're a bit scared of her. And then also because she was separated so old, they view her as kind of, she thinks she's better than them because she got to live with the alphas. Flash forward, I think like 5 years. She is living there. She's kind of settled in. People are accepting her a bit. She's still a bit of an outcast. Her brother Zach has moved up into the government, so he's working as one of like the heads of the council, and her mum sends her a message being like, hey, just be careful, I think people are going to come and grab you. And she's like, whatever, mum, I don't care. And they did. So Zach sent people to come and grab her and locked her up in the keeping rooms, as they called it. So this is basically where powerful people can send their twins so nobody could murder them or harm them or use them as blackmail. So Cass then spends the next 3 years, I think, in this tiny little cell, which is pretty miserable. She doesn't have a window. It's, yeah, pretty bad. And there is another seer who works for the council, that they call her the Confessor. She comes in and she's trying to get information from Cass. She's trying to find out all this stuff. And Cass is kind of like mind interrogated every day. She's exhausted. She hates it. She finally convinces her brother Zach to take her outside for a bit, and they go outside. Cass escapes. She had been seeing visions previous to this of a tank room, I guess, so where humans are kept in tanks suspended in the water. Kind of like, I guess, the situation she's in, except more full on. They don't have consciousness. Pretty terrible way to live. So she goes and escapes. And for some reason, she goes into the tank room. She finds her way there. Part of her seer powers is that she's really good at finding stuff. So kind of she gets like an inkling of which direction she needs to go in. So she goes into this tank room and she's looking around, and one of the Omegas in there like opens his eyes and sees her, and she's like, holy shit, I can't leave this guy in here. So it goes through, she breaks him out. They escape together. First couple of days, it's very rough. Obviously, he hasn't moved his body in a while. Yeah, she names him Kip because he has no memory of his previous life, no idea what happened to him. And they basically go on the run together. They decide that they're going to make their way to an island, which has at this point only been rumoured about, that there's an Omega resistance there and people can live there peacefully and happily. Cass is using her weird seer abilities to get there. They steal a horse from an alpha camp, and then they go to the city. At this point, they've been traveling for about 2 weeks and they're almost dead. So they stop at the city and get a job in an orphanage. So they help in the kitchen. They stay there for about a month, I think, and they see how, since they've been locked up, how Omega treatment has deteriorated further. There's whippings. It's like the alphas no longer care that their well-being is connected with the Omegas. It's pretty interesting. The woman who runs the orphanage knows that they're outcasts, knows that they're on the run, just from experience, I guess. And they decide to lock down the city that they're staying in, so they have to escape pretty quick. They run out, escape the city, burn down the forest that the alphas are using to build a fence around the city to lock them all in. There's like public lashings. So they burn down the forest and escape. They make it to the coast, make it on a boat. Cass does her little mind thing, figures out where the island is. They get there. They're so relieved that Cass and Kip kiss. It was really anticlimactic from the build-up that we had. They are locked up in a cell for a bit because obviously this island is really well hidden and they wanted to know how they got there. They basically treat them pretty badly for a while. Interrogating Cass mainly because Kip doesn't remember anything about his life. So they what happens then? They live like this for a while. Yeah, they eventually make a home out of the island. Cass is constantly worried about the confessor tracking her, trying to figure out where she is. She wants to find the island also. So after a while, Cass gets a vision that the island will be attacked. So she tells the man in charge, Piper, who Kip gets very jealous of. He is young. He runs the resistance. He's a very hands-on, kind of leader. No fuss. Dedicated to the cause. So Cass gives them a warning that they're going to be attacked. He starts evacuating people. Eventually, they do get attacked, and they find that the Alphas are killing Omegas. They're using the Confessor first to check that they're not anyone who is important. They're not their twin, so they can kill them, and their twin can die to no real consequence to them. Kip and Cass escape on a little sailboat, make it to the coast. They are then collected by a bounty hunter who was warned that Omegas would be coming ashore, and there's a reward for anyone that's collected. They then find another woman who is also an alpha who is trying to fight him for the thing. And she's ends up killing him. She wasn't a bad guy, I guess. She's Piper, the resistance leader's twin. So she knew that they were coming. She knew to look for them to try and help them. Piper thinks that Cass is a really important person in this upcoming war. So they travel with her to a meeting point for a while, where they eventually meet up with Piper. Cass has like a D&M with him where he basically tells her that he's in love with her, which, love triangle, love that. They are trying to figure out where the resistance goes from here. And Cass decides that she has seen another vision of a silo where she used to live. And inside the silo is where they keep all the records for all of the Omegas, how they track them all, how they know whose twins they are. So they decide to go there. Her and Kip go in. And they plan to destroy it. They get in there, and the confessor's there. Dun, dun, dun. So they they go up there, and the confessor's like, "Oh my god, I've been looking for you forever." And Cass's like, "I know." And she's like, "You're the worst seer in the world. Kip's actually my twin." And she's like, "But how could you both be Omegas? Haha." And she's like, "Well, we actually cut off Kip's arm. He used to be an alpha." And stuck him in the tank, and that's why he was responsive, because he was the first alpha to ever be in a tank. From there, the Confessor is about to hurt Cass. She won't kill her here because she obviously doesn't want Zach, her twin, to die. So Kip just jumps off the silo and kills himself. For how much I loved Kip as a character, I wasn't overly upset by it. I feel, once again, it was anticlimactic. There was kind of a big lead up to it that just fizzled out. It was just dead. We never found out his real name. Apparently, he was an asshole alpha who wanted to lock the Confessor up in the keeping rooms himself. Cass doesn't really want to believe that, and she doesn't tell anyone that because she wants him to fight for the cause. Obviously, after the Confessor and Kip are dead, she is stuck in the rooms. Her brother then comes because he's already been called by the Confessor, and there's also guards coming. He says that he can't be tied to this at all, so he lets her escape, which then she runs out and meets Zoe and Piper, and they run away and kind of regroup about what they're going to do in the following times, how they're going to continue the resistance, if there's still a resistance. That's basically where it ended. It was really anticlimactic. It felt like not much really happened. My favorite character died. I didn't really care. It was a good book. It was an easy read, but yeah, nothing crazy. If I get the chance at a book exchange to find the second and the third book, sure, I'll read them, but overall, pretty average.